Welcome to our YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about Nelson Mandela Part 2. Returning to Mkekazweni in December 1940, Mandela found that John Jantaba had arranged marriages for him and Justice. Dismayed, they fled to Johannesburg via Queenstown, arriving in April 1941. Mandela found work as a night watchman at Crown Mines, his first sight of South African capitalism in action, but was fired when the Induna discovered that he was a runaway. He stayed with a cousin in George Gotch Township, who introduced Mandela to realtor and ANK activist Walter Sisulu. The latter secured Mandela a job as an articled clerk at the law firm of Witkin, Seidelskite and Eidelman, a company run by Laser Seidelskite, a liberal Jew sympathetic to the ANK's cause. At the firm, Mandela befriended Gore Radab, a Luby member of the ANK and Communist Party, and Nat Bregman, a Jewish communist who became his first white friend. Mandela attended Communist Party gatherings, where he was impressed that Europeans, Africans, Indians, and coloreds mixed as equals. He later stated that he did not join the party because its atheism conflicted with his Christian faith, and because he saw the South African struggle as being racially based rather than as class warfare. To continue his higher education, Mandela signed up to a University of South Africa correspondence course, working on his bachelor's degree at night. Earning a small wage, Mandela rented a room in the house of the Zoma family in the Alexandra Township. Despite being rife with poverty, crime, and pollution, Alexandra always remained a special place for him. Although embarrassed by his poverty, he briefly dated a Swati woman before unsuccessfully courting his landlord's daughter. To save money and be closer to downtown Johannesburg, Mandela moved into the compound of the Witwatersrand Native Labour Association, living among miners of various tribes. As the compound was visited by various chiefs, he once met the Queen Regent of Basutoland. In late 1941, John Jantaba visited Johannesburg, there forgiving Mandela for running away, before returning to Thembuland, where he died in the winter of 1942. Mandela and Justice arrived a day late for the funeral. After he passed his BA exams in early 1943, Mandela returned to Johannesburg to follow a political path as a lawyer, rather than become a privy councillor in Thembuland. AG later stated that he experienced no epiphany, but that he simply found himself doing so and could not do otherwise. Revolutionary activity. Law studies in the ANK Youth League, 1943-1949. Mandela began studying law at the University of the Witwatersrand, where he was the only black African student and faced racism. There, he befriended liberal and communist European, Jewish, and Indian students, among them Joe Slovo and Ruth First. Becoming increasingly politicized, Mandela marched in August 1943 in support of a successful bus boycott to reverse fare rises. Joining the ANK, he was increasingly influenced by Sisulu, spending time with other activists at Sisulu's Orlando house, including his old friend Oliver Tambo. In 1943, Mandela met Anton Lembede, an ANK member affiliated with the Africanist branch of African nationalism, which was virulently opposed to a racially united front against colonialism and imperialism, or to an alliance with the communists. Despite his friendships with non-blacks and communists, Mandela embraced Lembede's views, believing that black Africans should be entirely independent in their struggle for political self-determination. Deciding on the need for a youth wing to mass mobilize Africans in opposition to their subjugation, Mandela was among a delegation that approached ANK President Alfred Bettini Shuma on the subject at his home in Sophiatown. The African National Congress Youth League, ANCIL, was founded on Easter Sunday 1944 in the Bantu Men's Social Center, with Lembede as president and Mandela as a member of its executive committee. Mandela and Evelyn in July 1944, at Walter and Albertina Sisulu's wedding party in the Bantu Men's Social Center. At Sisulu's house, Mandela met Evelyn Mace, a trainee nurse and ANK activist from Inkobo, Transkei. Entering a relationship and marrying in October 1944, they initially lived with her relatives until moving into a rented house in the township of Orlando in early 1946. Their first child, Madiba Thembi Thembekile, was born in February 1945. A daughter, Makazawa, was born in 1947 but died of meningitis 9 months later. Mandela enjoyed home life, welcoming his mother and his sister, Libby, to stay with him. In early 1947, his 3 years of articles ended at Witkin, Seidelskite, and Eidelman, and he decided to become a full-time student, subsisting on loans from the Bantu Welfare Trust. In July 1947, Mandela rushed Lembede, who was ill, to hospital, where he died. He was succeeded as ANCIL president by the more moderate Peter Mda, who agreed to cooperate with communists and non-blacks, appointing Mandela ANCIL secretary. Mandela disagreed with Mda's approach and in December 1947 supported an unsuccessful measure to expel communists from the ANCIL, considering their ideology un-African. In 1947, Mandela was elected to the executive committee of the ANC's Transvaal province branch, serving under regional president C.S. Ramohino. When Ramohino acted against the wishes of the committee by cooperating with Indians and communists, Mandela was one of those who forced his resignation. In the South African general election in 1948, in which only whites were permitted to vote, the Afrikaner-dominated Heer-en-Nasionale Party under Daniel Francois Malan took power, soon uniting with the Afrikaner Party to form the National Party. Openly racialist, the party codified and expanded racial segregation with new apartheid legislation. Gaining increasing influence in the ANC, Mandela and his party cadre allies began advocating direct action against apartheid, such as boycotts and strikes, influenced by the tactics already employed by South Africa's Indian community. Zuma did not support these measures and was removed from the presidency in a vote of no confidence, replaced by James Moroka and a more militant executive committee containing Sisulu, Mda, Tambo, and Godfrey Pitch. Mandela later related that he and his colleagues had guided the ANC to a more radical and revolutionary path. Having devoted his time to politics, Mandela failed his final year at Witwatersrand 3 times. He was ultimately denied his degree in December 1949. Defiance Campaign and Transvaal ANC Presidency, 1950-1954. The ANC's tricolor flag, black for the people, green for the land, and gold for the resources of Africa. Mandela took Zuma's place on the ANC National Executive in March 1950, and that same year was elected national president of the ANCIL. In March, the Defend Free Speech Convention was held in Johannesburg, bringing together African, Indian and communist activists to call a May Day general strike in protest against apartheid and white minority rule. Mandela opposed the strike because it was multiracial and not ANC-led, but a majority of black workers took part, resulting in increased police repression and the introduction of the Suppression of Communism Act, 1950, affecting the actions of all protest groups. At the ANC National Conference of December 1951, he continued arguing against a racially united front but was outvoted. Thereafter, Mandela rejected Lembede's Africanism and embraced the idea of a multiracial front against apartheid. Influenced by friends like Moses Kotane and by the Soviet Union's support for wars of national liberation, his mistrust of communism broke down, and he began reading literature by Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, and Mao Zedong, eventually embracing the Marxist philosophy of dialectical materialism. Commenting on communism, he later stated that he found himself strongly drawn to the idea of a classless society which, to his mind, was similar to traditional African culture, where life was shared and communal. In April 1952, Mandela began work at the H.M. Basner law firm, which was owned by a communist, although his increasing commitment to work and activism meant he spent less time with his family. In 1952, the ANC began preparation for a joint defiance campaign against apartheid with Indian and communist groups, founding a national voluntary board to recruit volunteers. The campaign was designed to follow the path of non-violent resistance influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. Some supported this for ethical reasons, but Mandela instead considered it pragmatic. At a Durban rally on 22 June, Mandela addressed an assembled crowd of 10,000 people, initiating the campaign protests for which he was arrested and briefly interned in Marshall Square Prison. These events established Mandela as one of the best-known black political figures in South Africa. With further protests, the ANC's membership grew from 20,000 to 100,000 members. The government responded with mass arrests and introduced the Public Safety Act, 1953 to permit martial law. In May, authorities banned Transvaal ANC President J.B. Marx from making public appearances. Unable to maintain his position, he recommended Mandela as his successor. Although Africanists opposed his candidacy, Mandela was elected to be regional president in October. What do you think of our video? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.